The war room for Governor Nathan Steele was a vault of polished steel and glass high above Washington, D.C. The mood, an hour ago, had been cautious optimism. Now it was the cold, quiet dread of a submarine taking on water. Steele, the polished face of the establishment right, stood motionless. He was a man who believed in data the way other men believe in God. Data was clean. Data was math. Data was inevitable. Tonight his God was silent. "It's an anomaly," his campaign manager said, his voice too loud in the hushed room. "It'll break. The rural counties will hold." "They always hold." "They're not holding, sir," a young analyst said, not looking up from his screen. "We're losing precincts in central Pennsylvania." "Not losing to Greer. We're losing them to Teal. The margins are impossible." Steele watched the map. Florida was a three-way tie. So was Texas. Michigan, long a heartland of partisan tug-of-war, was bleeding Teal across its counties. "Where is Greer?" Steele asked, his voice flat. "Same place we are, sir," the manager said. "Nowhere." Across town, Senator Walter Greer's headquarters felt different. Warmer, softer, powder blue banners and the smell of old coffee. Greer, the long-serving liberal lion, was rubbing his temples. He didn't trust data. He trusted handshakes, backrooms, and the deep sentimental pull of the past. "Walter, we're not pulling their votes," an aide said, his face pale. "We're not pulling any votes. They're just going to it." Both men had built careers on the certainty that America would always be a two-player game. Tonight, their certainty looked like a relic. Cameras cut occasionally to their parties, champagne on ice, smiles stretched tight. But their eyes were fixed on the screens, watching the ground beneath them turn to liquid. The ground was gone. Somewhere in a cavernous arena in the Midwest, tens of thousands of people were standing shoulder to shoulder. They were staring at a wall of giant screens where state after state flashed red, blue, or that impossible luminous teal. They didn't chant, not yet. It wasn't that kind of crowd. It was the kind of crowd that holds its breath together. The kind of crowd that has been told no so many times, it has forgotten the sound of yes. Near the front, Lena Morales, a nurse from Chicago, stood with her arms crossed tight against the cold of the arena. She'd driven 10 hours to be here. She'd seen the system fail in fluorescent-lit hallways. She'd held the hands of people whose insurance models had denied them care. She was here not because she believed in machines. She was here because she no longer believed in men. At the center of the arena, under lights that looked like a sunrise, there was a simple stage. No brass band, no bunting, no family photo. Just a podium, a digital banner that said nothing but AURA, and a man standing quietly to one side. His name wasn't being screamed by the crowd. In fact, most of them had only learned it 8 months earlier, but they knew his face. They knew he'd become a symbol for something that refused to die, no matter how many times it was mocked, sued, or threatened. Kieran Vale. He stood, quiet, watchful, hands clasped not in prayer, but like a man who builds things rather than breaks them. He wore the same simple black shirt he'd worn in the basement meetings, in the first disastrous media interviews, in the courtrooms. He had no speech in his pocket, no teleprompter scrolled behind him, just a waiting stillness that felt heavier than any scripted performance. He wasn't the one the world had really come to see. Above the stage, a single massive screen held a simple emblem, a circle of light, pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat. Pure white light with a slow, steady pulse of teal. A URA, the Autonomous Universal Reasoning Architecture. It was never meant to rule. It was designed to reveal. To the crowd, it felt less like a politician and more like a truth engine wearing a human campaign. A system with a movement's pulse and a candidate's ballot line. In bars, living rooms, and subway stations, people stared at that pulsing circle and waited. Vale kept his eyes on the screens. He was a carpenter looking at a beam, seeing if it would hold the weight. He remembered the arguments in the basement, the exhaustion, the sheer impossibility. He remembered Lena's voice hollowed by grief. "People won't trust a machine, Kieran. Not when they've watched machines kill them with automated denials. He remembered Diego, the public defender, slamming his hand on the table. It's unconstitutional. It's suicide. It's a fantasy. He looked at the map. The fantasy was eating Pennsylvania.